What's going on, everybody? Bond's apartment. Look who I found in North Carolina. None other than Bond00XL.
That's right. North Carolina, not South Carolina. Cheers.
We say North Carolina.
North Carolina?
North Carolina.
Hey, it works for me, brother.
So,
hello, everyone. Thanks for letting me piggyback onto Bond's apartment in Luke.
Anytime. So, I'm actually here for a work trip and more light required. Well, too bad, won't have it. So I'm here for a work trip.
I'll try to be brighter.
That's okay. You're fine. You know what it is?
I do what I can.
Maybe we can have them put it. No. So I'm here for a work trip. I was on the phone with everybody's favorite human, Kyle Barbeau, and I said, I'm going to Carolina.
He's my favorite human.
He's everybody's.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm going to North Carolina. And,
hello, Kyle.
Hey, Kyle. And do we know anybody out there? And he was like, I think Will lives out there. So I Facebook stalked him, even though we are friends on Facebook. Saw where he lived, and he made it super simple on me and just drove out to my hotel. And we've been sitting having some libations for probably a couple hours. And we decided to do a quick little video.
I'm excited. I'm very excited to see you again in person. We've only had the opportunity to interact, I should say, in person a couple of times. The first time being Gather All, and that was very brief. Mm-hmm. And this being the second time. And yep. I told you I would have walked here to have the opportunity to just hang out with you. So
well, he walked in here really sweaty, so I think maybe you no, just
I'm out of run.
I mean, look at the guy. He's perfectly shaved beard, Tom Ford glasses. He's what are you showing? What do you got on here? Let's show the people. This is what we do.
Sorry.
Planet Ocean and
Aquaterra Skyfall.
So we're both representing Skyfall.
That's right.
All we need is
great minds think alike.
That's right. So, when we were sitting having some drinks, I was thinking, what topic do we talk about? And of course, you know, we haven't really gotten to hang out, but we did kind of start talking about, you know, the Bond community and different people we've met. And one of the things I wanted to ask you is, as far as the community itself, do you feel like it's more welcoming than you would have thought? Because you are essentially, when it comes to the YouTube and Instagram, you're newer to it-ish.
For sure.
Not so much anymore, but newer than some. When you first jumped into it, do you feel like it was very welcoming, or do you feel like you had a hard time kind of finding out who was who and what was what, or what was that experience like?
Again, I can only speak from my experience, Luke. But it was amazingly accepting, amazingly welcoming. Has been my entire exposure to the Bond community, quite frankly.
Good.
You know, the first video I put out, which is unbelievable how long it's been now since I put that video out. A lot of personal stuff going on. I won't go into that at this point, but I've done 2 videos, and after the first video, the reception was just mind-boggling. I had no idea what to expect. Mm-hmm. And there was the outpouring of people's authenticity and sharing their stories with me on how my video they interacted with it and how it affected them was amazing. And I'm not exaggerating when I say you, Luke, were one of the first people to reach out to me, so enthusiastic, so welcoming, and asked me to be on your program, on your story, on your show, on your YouTube video for an interview that we did right after my video, and that I will never forget that. Very important to me. Someone that had no experience doing anything like that in their life before, and you reaching out to me and welcoming me in that way, I will never forget that. And cheers to you, brother, because that gave me the confidence, I guess it is, to continue trying to go down that path, and I really appreciate that.
Well, that's nice of you to say. I appreciate that, and you know, and that's something we talked about when we were sitting at the bar earlier. But you know, I think for me in particular, the reason I reached out to you was, you know, when I first jumped in, and I've told this story many times, but it was right around. I think it was Operation Phoenix. David did something on Zoom. And I somehow caught wind of it and just turned on I can't remember if it was Zoom or YouTube, but I jumped onto it, and then next thing you know, I saw these names. Of course, the Bond experience, but then I saw Being James Bond, Bond Armory, Omega Bond watches. And I was like, there's a fleet of people doing this. And I was like, you know, you're talking a month or two into COVID, if I remember correctly, a couple months into COVID when he did that. I was like, I've got nothing going on. I'm working from home. All the stores are closed. Everything's closed. I was like, I might as well like try to be a part of this, right? So I made this Instagram account, and here we are. But there was those people who did that for me, and personally, I saw your video and I thought, you know, this is a guy who, first off, you sent those invitations in the mail, which was just unbelievable. But then
It reminded me of the invitations to which I did not get, by the way, the invitations to the No Time to Die premiere at Royal Albert Hall.
Right.
And I thought to mirror that to some extent might give me a little bit of...
Well, I mean, it was genius. It was genius. And everybody loved it. And, you know, for me, it was like, once I saw the video, you know, and to me, there is no competition. It's not like, oh, I need to be better than Will, or I need to be better than David. I mean, it's like, I watch David's videos and I think, okay, how can I learn from David's videos? I watched, and your first video, I even thought to myself, how can I learn from this video? Because it's fantastic. So, of course, even if it didn't turn into, because of course it did turn into you coming onto my YouTube channel, and you and I having probably an hour conversation. I got to meet your wife and different things like that. But it did turn into something way more than that. So it was nice to know that you know, it was me reaching out with a mutual admiration, or I shouldn't say mutual, that would imply that you admire me.
I think you're right. I think you're exactly right, actually.
An admiration
You're
for
safe.
what you
You're
had
safe.
done, for what you had done, and then it then blossomed into doing a video together and all that stuff. Sorry if it's a little noisy. We're sitting in a hotel lobby, but you know, it's.
I was afraid to go back to his room with him.
But yeah, so we, you know, I saw your video, and I was like, I just have to at least reach out to him and say, hey, you did a fantastic job. If that meant something to you or not, it wasn't on my radar as far as, you know, I thought it would be nice for someone to hear that they did a good job with something that you clearly put a lot of effort into. You know.
Well, yeah, look, thank you so much for that, because I did put a lot of effort into it.
Mm-hmm. Well, it showed.
And it was nice.
Showed.
It was very nice. It was, you know, just overwhelmingly nice. And I will always remember that, and I will always treasure that you reached out to me and had me on your program and on your channel.
Of course.
It was very, very impressive. And the fact that we've been able to develop somewhat of a friendship, and I don't want to call it a friendship now, going back and forth on Instagram and Facebook and on Messenger, etc., and now in person a couple of times. You know, this community, and I know some people don't like the word community, don't like the Bond community as a tagline or a word, but it is I use it because it is a community to me. Mm-hmm. To me, it feels like a community.
It is,
and you make it feel like a community to me. I feel like you are a friend, not just someone that I know via these great videos that you put out, not just the information that I've gleaned from watching your videos and your Instagram posts, but from talking to you. Mm-hmm. Listen, we spent 2 hours in the bar before we did this video. At least an hour and a half of that, I don't know that Bond was mentioned.
No,
I don't know that Bond was mentioned.
Well, that's the thing. It's Bond, and this is going to sound so corny, but James Bond has allowed a lot of us to create a Bond.
Amen. That's right, and we're signing off now because it's just
not
not going to get better than that.
Can't beat that.
So,
with that said, before we sign off, because we're not.
No.
I want to
I'm much too verbose for that.
Yes, I still got a full drink. Another thing I want to ask.
My double has got below a single now.
Yeah, what happened to all the ice? Did you eat the ice?
I must have eaten the ice.
Okay, I was going to say. So another question I want to ask you is, as far as Bond and the direction it's heading post Craig, are you excited? Are you nervous? Are you antsy? Are you all of the above? What are your thoughts And what would you like to see?
That's a great question. You put me back on my haunches a little bit, Luke, because I wasn't expecting that. Thank you, my friend.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, I am one of those that is a big fan of the Craig era. Okay,
Yeah.
I love Sean Connery as Bond and all the other ones as well. Craig is a Bond that I can really, for some reason, really resonates with me. The Daniel Craig Bond on a lot of levels. So I am nervous about where it's headed next.
Yeah.
I'm also one of those, probably the vast minority of the people on this channel that watch these videos of all the content creators. I'm also one of those that actually like to know Time to Die.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, as a Craig fan, so I am nervous about where it's headed. I'm excited about where it's headed. Because guess what? It's time for something new. It's time for us to get behind something new and to see what that means exactly. Because I don't know what that means. You don't know what that means.
Yeah.
I'm not sure Barbara Broccoli knows what that means at this point, to be honest with you.
I absolutely agree with that.
I'm excited to see where Bond's headed. Will I like it? I don't know.
Okay, well,
will I be honest about it? I will.
Let me piggyback
Please.
off that. Are you, because you mentioned Barbara Broccoli, would you like to see Eon sell and allow somebody else to take over, or are you okay with the way that they're, I don't want to say handling things because I don't want to make it sound like we've got an issue with it. But, I mean, do you think there's someone out there here, i.e., Jon Favreau? Do you think there's somebody that could do what Jon Favreau's done with Mandalorian, who shows he is not only an unbelievably true Star Wars fan, and he really, really cares and has his ear to the ground of what people want? Would you like to see someone like that come in and take over Bond? Is it even possible? Or do you kind of just feel like there's nobody else that can do it but Barbara and Michael until they no longer physically can?
Well, you know what?
He's stumped.
I don't think that you should just, that's a great question, and I don't think it's one you should just jump into answering until you give it some thought.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why, as a trial lawyer, as a former trial lawyer, I want to think about what I'm going to say.
Okay.
The fact of the matter is, I think I'm excited to see where we're headed. Can a Jon Favreau type person come in and take Bond in a new direction? Yeah, I think that maybe it's time for that.
Yeah.
I think maybe it's time for that, in all honesty. I don't know. Depends what direction it goes. Do I like the direction it's headed, or do I not? If I don't like it, then I wish that it hadn't happened, obviously. But you know what? Barbara and Michael, Mr. Wilson and Miss Broccoli, they deserve to take this where they want it to go at their tenure of the stewardship of this franchise. If it's time for them to move on, guess what? It's time for them to move on.
Right. Okay.
If they believe it's time for them to move on, I promise you it's time for them to move on.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have some thoughts.
I didn't ask you for your thoughts.
You
I'm kidding.
You don't get to ask. You're on my show, pal.
Oh,
This
that's
is
right.
my show.
You're the one producing videos.
This is my show. I think there is a little bit of a hangover with Daniel Craig. I think there's...
Explain that.
Well, I think Barbara would have liked to have Daniel do it until he physically could not do it anymore. And don't get me wrong, I wouldn't have minded that either. I mean, he looked old in Skyfall, but he looked young in Spectre. And, it's like he's an actor. He can do all kinds of things. He probably could have done one or two more. However, the problem with this is they don't churn these movies out fast enough.
No, they do not.
So the question I've been asked a million times is, do you want 3 incredible Bond films in 15 years, or do you want 5 mediocre films 7 years? I would go for the latter. But at the same time, after seeing No Time to Die and the way it ended, personally, my reaction when I left the theater, I actually hopped on the call with Lorenzo, Omega Bond Watches, and Caleb.
Hey, Lorenzo.
From Commando Bond. Hey, Caleb.
How are you?
And the three of us just kind of didn't have much to say. We were just all in shock. We saw it simultaneously at press events in different states. And what was interesting was I had like
Press events.
Press events, yeah.
What are press events? I'm not familiar with press events.
You being sarcastic?
Maybe a little bit. Maybe a little bit. I'm saying I haven't been invited to press events. I'm just kidding.
Super famous YouTubers.
That's right.
All 1,500 subscribers I had. Braggart.
Is it Braggart or Taggart?
That's really good.
Braggart, Taggart? I'm not sure.
It's Luke Braggart, Joseph Taggart.
I think it is.
But when we got on the call, we didn't have much to say.
I feel a little smaller.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. But one of the things that I do remember feeling was like, okay, so I've been doing this Bond's apartment thing for a year and a half at that point, 2 years. I was like, and I love doing it.
Yes,
and I never want to stop doing it. And I was like, but wait a minute, like, what's going to happen? And don't get me wrong, there wasn't a point in time at all when I thought Bond wouldn't continue.
Sure.
But it just had this end of an era. You know, like, I was like, are we going to have Omega involved moving forward? Is Tom Ford going to be it? Is Sunspell? All these brands, like, all this marketing, all these, the way Orlamar Brown does things. I was like, is this just done now? Because, of course, say they hired Henry Cavill. I doubt Henry Cavill's wearing Tom Ford. If it's Brioni, I don't think, just all these things going through my head about marketing and about products and things that we do.
And the things we love. Part of what we love is the
sartorial aspect.
Exactly.
And I just thought, I don't know, but a lot of points that people make is No Time to Die was supposed to come out in 2019, 2020?
2019 or 20, yeah.
So
20.
say, okay, just hypothetically, because we're both a little sauced. Say it was. Wasn't it April something? April 2020?
Sure
I think
was.
it was April
Yes,
2020.
Yes, sir.
So say it was going to come out in April 2020. So that means, hypothetically, you've got this film in the can, ready to go by, we'll say, February, March 2020?
The latest.
So what in the hell were you doing in November or December of 2019, all the way until the movie actually came out in 2021? What were you doing for all that time? Because this film has been done and ready to go, and because of COVID, it didn't come out. So you never decided to start looking for, a new leading man. You never decided to think, are we going to stay with Purvis and Wade? Are we going to move on? Who's a good director? Will Sam Mendes come back? Do we want a 3-movie arc with Christopher Nolan? You made none of these decisions. And sometimes I feel like I have a hard time believing that, because it is a Bond franchise, and I feel like Barbara and Michael might like to play a little, close to the vest type of thing. But
and
at
they're
the same
smarter
time,
than that.
but at the same time, I could easily, if she were to come out and say, I swear on my father's grave that we don't know who's writing it, who's directing it, who's starring it, I would believe that wholeheartedly.
But I don't think they're mutually exclusive, Luke. I really don't. I don't
Which
think
part?
I think that what you're saying is true. That she can come out and say, I don't know who's writing, I don't know who's directing it, I don't know who's going to star as Bond. I think that's true. But that doesn't, like you said, that doesn't mean Bond doesn't go on. That doesn't mean Bond doesn't...
and I know he will. That was the thing. I was never worried that it wouldn't continue, but I was worried about the future of it.
Well, and
the Amazon thing going through.
That's big.
But it's like, a lot of people don't like the way Disney is handling Star Wars. Personally, I am not one of those people. Do I like 7, 8, and 9? Not really. But do I like the fact that they're just trying to tell more stories? Absolutely. I really do. Mandalorian, I think, is great. I thought the Andor series was pretty good. I have a really good feeling about the Ahsoka series. Do I want to see Bond spin-offs and TV shows? No, I don't.
I agree.
But I would like to see more frequent movies. I would like to see.
See, I don't necessarily buy into the either or. The mutual exclusiveness of, can you have 3 Bond movies in 15 years that are fantastic Bond movies, or can you have 6 Bond movies in 15 years that
So
are
you're
okay
saying-
Bond.
so you're
I think
saying
you
you
can
can
have
have-
6 great Bond movies in 15 years.
Oh, I agree with that. Look
I
at
think
Mission
you can
Impossible.
do that.
Look at Mission Impossible. So
Right.
this is the thing, and Lorenzo and I have talked about this a billion
Hey,
times. Lorenzo.
By the way, thank you again for encouraging me to start my channel, Bond00XL. I owe a lot to you, Lorenzo, and I want to say thank you again.
What do you think this is, like a shout out to everybody? What are you talking about?
I don't even know who Lorenzo is.
This is not your time to shine, pal. No.
My forehead may disagree with you.
Quit taking opportunities to benefit yourself on my fucking channel. No. So, cheers.
Salud.
So, Lorenzo and I.
Did
who
we
you
talk
may
about
know-
press events?
Presidents or press events?
Yes. Yes, indeed.
So, Lorenzo and I have talked about this a million times. He is a very big Mission
Lorenzo.
Impossible fan. Omega Fossil Watches.
Imagine
Fossil Bond Watches.
Hello, Lorenzo. Mega Fossil Watches. Nice to see you.
So, jokes aside, we've talked about Mission
Sorry.
Impossible a million. Oh, you're good. But after Mission Impossible 3, 4, 5, I don't even know what, I think they're at, heading into 7 and 8, or 8 and 9 or something. They are all mega box office successes, but they're also 90 plus on Rotten Tomatoes. So, I truly think the reason is, it's not that Tom Cruise is developing some unbelievable story, Shawshank Redemption freaking
Nice
tale.
reference.
Thank you. One of my favorite films.
Fantastic.
But he's getting people into the theater. They're having a great time watching a great action spy thriller.
Thank you. Yes.
And they're leaving feeling on top of the world, just like in Top Gun Maverick. So, first, I don't even want to
Where's
go
the
down
mustache, by the way?
Huh?
You said Top Gun Maverick. Where's the mustache?
I had it.
I
I had
know.
it.
That's why I'm
I
asking.
mean, that was like a year ago now, right? That was last summer. Been there, done that. Been there, done that. Got kicked out of enough playgrounds and shit.
Yeah, well,
You know.
250 feet.
Yeah, I mean, I walking out of Target and people are like, "What's wrong with you? There's kids here." What? But anyways,
Sorry, Mr. Holmes.
yeah. But anyways, do we? I mean, I'm pretty sure the next 2 Mission Impossibles were filmed simultaneously.
Oh, really? I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
yeah, they were. Yeah. So the trailer came out today, actually. Well, whenever you guys watch this, but they were filmed together, and then broken into part 1 and part 2. So people talk.
It's a great idea, actually.
Well, people talk about the. Okay, let's do this. Let's do this whole thing. If somebody like Christopher Nolan were to sign on and do Bond, I think he would do 3 film arc, and he'd probably want to shoot pretty back to back. I wouldn't say 3 at a time, not some Lord of the Rings thing, but I think he would want to do, like, here's part 1, we'll say 2024, and I'm sure he'd want to start production on part 2 by end of 2025. Like, he would want to get these done. I mean, he's very in demand, right?
I agree. Absolutely.
So I just feel like they need something different. I think that's the main point I'm trying to get. They need something different. I think they almost try too damn hard.
Well, that's right, and I know how they feel. I think I'm guilty of that to some extent myself in my personal life and my YouTube life, if you will, in my content life. I think I struggle with the same issues, frankly, to be honest with you. It's so Barbara, Michael, Mr. Wilson, Ms. Broccoli, you have my sympathy on that. I think I understand a little bit where you're coming from there. I didn't know that about the Mission Impossible films.
Yeah.
But I think it's a great idea to try to do something like that, and he would be a fantastic director to do something to that extent, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I
Seriously.
just think they need some sort of.
We're craving. Listen, what we're trying to say, I think, Luke, if what you're saying and what I'm feeling is we are hungry. We are hungry for content, for Bond-related movies, for content, and not just. Listen, we are as discriminating as anyone in the movie industry, probably, because we have a hero, an anti-hero that we follow, that we, I don't want to say emulate, but that we really enjoy watching.
Right.
So we're hungry for this content, and they can provide, I think, excellent content for all of us, that it's not going to satisfy everyone. That's impossible. Excuse me. But they can provide it to us in a more expeditious manner, which will satiate the desire for the I guess rapidity of how fast it comes out, but also give us a quality product. You mentioned the Mission Impossible series, which I think has done an excellent job doing that. And why can't Bond do that? I completely agree with you. Why can't Bond do that? It absolutely can do that.
Yeah.
And we're craving it. We're craving that as a Bond community, as a community that supports that particular protagonist. We're craving it, and I'm excited to see where it's headed, Luke. I'll be honest with you. I'm excited to see. I don't know.
I'm excited, but are you nervous?
I'm very nervous.
Yeah.
What are they going to do with my hero? Yeah. What are they going to do with my James Bond
and
that I grew up with 40 years ago?
Let me tell you one thing about Bond.
Please.
And this is where, and I don't like to pick at Barbara and Michael too much because, like I said, they've carried the torch very well. But you've got a franchise that is now 60 years old. Not to mention, what other franchise as big as Bond? So duration-wise, there's really none, but you can compare it to a Star Wars or to an Avengers as far as a mega franchise. But what franchise has like an entire country? Like, Mark, Views from Mark, who we love.
Love you, Mark.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, brother.
He posted something on his story. He was going home from doing something, and he happened to look up into someone's window, and they had the Goldfinger vinyl frame. You would never see that around here. I mean, Bond is, it's like a country's hero in the UK, and it's just like you can't even begin to pretend, if you're Barbara and Michael, that you don't have so many people that love this character and are just waiting to see something good and new. And it's like, you know what, if you wanted to end it the way you did with No Time to Die, if that's what Daniel Craig wanted to do, fine. But like, if that's what you're gonna do, don't then turn around and make us wait 4 years to find out who the next Bond is and then another 2. Like, you gotta be on the ball here. That's all I'm saying. I don't think it's too much to ask.
Because if you do that, Luke, my question is, if you do that and make us wait 4, 5, 6 years maybe, if you do that, what are the expectations then? They just build.
Right.
They don't get lower.
Right.
The expectations build because of what we're waiting for. Well, we're waiting for 4 years or 5 years or 6 years, whatever the number is. The expectations build exponentially every year.
Right.
Right? So give us something, satiate that desire. It may not be the perfect meal, but it may be the perfect appetizer to move on to the next course. And that may be what we need to have.
I mean, and as far as appetizer, announce the next actor.
Thank you. Yes, absolutely.
That's it. And then, start small. Go with the actor. I mean, that's not small, but I'm saying go with the actor, then find your writers, then find your director, then get the script, and then do it. I mean, it's like there's producer 101, but it's like at the same time, it's it's the most beloved. I mean, I was thinking in the car, or on the plane, I should say. I was thinking on the plane over here today, I wonder if Christopher Nolan would do it. I was truly curious. But I was like, you know what? I truly believe even someone with as much going on and someone who could probably direct anything he ever wanted to, because I have a feeling Oppenheimer is going to bring him even to a higher level than he even is already, his newest film that's coming out. But I feel like even someone like Christopher Nolan would direct Bond. So it's like you've got any actor, any actress, any director, probably any writer willing to work with you. Phoebe Waller-Bridge jumped in just to punch up the script for No Time to Die. You'll get anybody in there that wants to. It's like you've got your pick of the litter. I would just be so excited to start over and be like, okay, who do we get? How do we flip this franchise upside down, but in the best way possible?
And build it.
Yeah,
Because I used to tell my clients, listen, when I was practicing law, when I was doing that, I would always say, it's easier to put a fire out when it's a small ember than it is before it rages and burns the house down. And that's where we're getting as a Bond community. we're a small ember. Who's going to be the next Bond? When's the next Bond coming out?
Yeah.
But as time passes, that ember grows, and
Yeah.
the flames become wider and more dispersed, and then next thing you know, it's consuming the house, and that's
Yeah.
where we're going to be in 2 or 3 more years.
Right.
If we don't have something to put that, I want to say passion and enthusiasm, if we don't have something to tamp it down to give us something else to latch on to, it's just
Right.
going to rage out of control. Is what I'm getting at.
Hey, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Pleasure's all mine, brother. I promise you.
Thank you guys for watching from the Marriott in Greensboro, North Carolina.
Hey, you almost said it right. North Carolina.
North Carolina. Why,
We're gonna make a Southern boy out of this
It's
guy.
Christmas in Dixie. Will Burke,
Bond00XL.
Bond00XL.
Hey, you got it right.
Yeah.
I'm impressed.
Thank you guys for watching.
Thank you.
Catch you on the next one.
Thanks, Luke.